Alrighty. Hey, my name is Noelle Ellis. I'm a senior at App State, and my topic was nutrition during pregnancy. So a little bit of background about this topic. Pregnancy is a crucial time for expecting mothers when it comes to making decisions about their nutrition and health. These choices affect both the mother and the baby once it is born. According to our textbook, pregnant women are at a much higher need for proper nutrients, such as vitamin A, B, and C, fiber, carbohydrates, and linoleic acid. For unborn babies, nutrient deficiencies put the fetus at a much higher risk of chronic disease or obesity later on after birth. Nutrient deficiency is actually the cause of more than half of all deaths worldwide for kids under 5, based on the mother's nutritional intake when the fetus was in the womb. So in the journal article, Diet and Pregnancy More Than Food, it is stated that diet could be beneficial or harmful in the context of the well-being of the whole future population. Most conditions that occur in adulthood originate in fetal life. So there are a plethora of things that women do need to stay away from during pregnancy, and then there are things that should be beneficial for them to eat regarding their nutrition and health for both the mother and the baby. Some of these things are teratogans, and we'll get into those later. So another journal article I found very interesting was called The Importance of Maternal Diet Quality During Pregnancy on Cognitive and Behavioral Outcomes in Children, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis. So neural development of a fetus is rarely studied. However, it's super detrimental when it comes to the nutrients that an expecting mother consumes. A meta-analysis was done of 63,861 pregnant participants in 18 different studies that have happened over time. The questions were either self-administered or given by a trained interviewer using the Food Frequency Questionnaire. And analyzing these studies showed a positive association between maternal diet during pregnancy and child functioning after birth. So now more into what a expecting mother should eat, all the good and the bad things. So what is good for a woman who's pregnant? Vegetable-wise, carrots, spinach, sweet potatoes, and red peppers all have a really good source of vitamin A and potassium. Fruits are apricots, oranges, tomatoes, honeydew, and bananas. And that is also a really good source of potassium. A little bit more that's what's good for you. Dairy is skim milk and fat-free yogurt. These all benefit calcium, potassium, vitamin A, and vitamin D. Grains is cereal or hot cereal or oatmeal. And this is good for iron and folic acid. Proteins, animal protein is definitely higher quality, and that means meat should be the main source of protein for pregnant women. However, there are substitutes for people who are vegetarian that are good for their source of protein, such as beans. And then lamb and pork and salmon and trout. Salmon and trout do have to be cooked. Raw seafood is really bad. And lean beef. These are all good for amino acids for energy. And then fat, omega-3 fatty acids are helpful for fetus brain development. So on top of learning what foods you should eat during pregnancy, it is also important to learn what foods you can't eat regarding pregnancy symptoms. Things like nausea and vomiting can prohibit the ability to get all of the nutritional food you can eat, which varies from person to person. Not everyone's symptoms are the same. So especially with sensitive smell and the fact that your taste changes while you're pregnant, you just have to find out what works for you and what works for the nutritional intake you should be getting. So now what is bad for you? Unpasteurized milk. Unpasteurized milk is always labeled as unpasteurized. This is things like feta cheese, brie, and queso. Lunch meat is also not the best. Raw seafood and raw eggs or meat. So macro and micronutrients. It is very important for pregnant mothers to reach the recommended macronutrients and maintain homeostasis while their baby is in utero. These macronutrients can provide important things to expecting mothers, such as energy to aid in a healthy pregnancy and fetal development. Micronutrients are just as important for a pregnant woman when it comes to the development for the baby. Around 30% of pregnant women struggle with vitamin deficiencies during pregnancy, so this information is very viable because those nutrient deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies don't just affect the mother, but they also affect the baby's development even after birth. So a little bit about the macronutrients. Energy intake is crucial when it comes to fetus development, placenta synthesis, and amniotic fluid. Recommended for pregnant women is 7,710 to 9,260 kilojoules a day. Protein is also detrimental for growth, repair, and development, and it meets nitrogen and amino acid necessities for the mother. Regarding micronutrients, iodine is an important micronutrient and aids in development, as well as can be sourced from fortified salt, kale, and seafood. Just the same, zinc is pivotal in protecting neurological and immune function, vision repair and development, and antioxidants defenses. This is in things like milk, nuts, and meat. So a little bit about vitamins and supplements. While the best way to get the proper nutrients is through actual food, there are supplements for pregnant women to make sure they are getting those vitamins because, again, things like pregnancy symptoms, allergies, vegetarian diet, it's not easy to get all of the nutrients and vitamins you need out of the food you eat. Folic acid is probably one of the most important ones. It is recommended to pregnant women, and they should take at least 0.4 milligrams a day. This minimizes the risk of neural tube defects, which are birth defects that harm the brain and spinal cord in both the mother and the baby. Iron is also recommended to pregnant women to help the babies grow and develop. This is at 27 milligrams a day recommended. Vitamin D helps bone development in unborn babies. Calcium, pregnant women should take at least 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day, and this helps minimize the risk of preeclampsia for pregnant women. So a little bit of weight gain for pregnant women. A woman beginning her pregnancy should be gaining about 3.5 pounds in the first trimester. After that, a healthy weighing pregnant woman should be gaining 1 pound per week with adequate nutritional intake. Women starting pregnancy with obesity should be gaining about 11 to 20 pounds for a healthy delivery by the end of the full term. So risk for the children based on the mother's nutrition. This was my bibliography, the American Society of Nutrition, where studies showed that a mother's diet during pregnancy has long-term impacts on her child's weight. According to the study, their results showed that nutritional intakes that contain a higher inflammatory potential during a woman's pregnancy lead to higher BMI growth in children after birth. So a child growing in utero is developing metabolism, growth, and development in their eating behaviors as well, and are extremely delicate to the nutritional intake of the mother. So in this study, 1,459 pregnant mothers were analyzed regarding their nutritional intake on the different levels via questionnaire. This was the Dietary Inflammatory Index, Mediterranean Diet Score, and Alternate Healthy Eating Index for pregnancy. So researchers studied how these scores correlated with fetus growth trajectories in order to prove their hypothesis that these nutritional intakes do have a really big impact on children's BMI. And then one conclusion that I thought was really interesting to me was that a Mediterranean-style diet was the highest association for offspring growth trajectories, which before this topic in this presentation, I really never even thought about the type of, the type of food that you consume could affect your baby that much. So the trimesters. In the first trimester, you do not need to be consuming any more calories than your normal intake. Protein should be 1 gram a day additional than what you used to do or what you normally do. In the second trimester, you need to be consuming around 340 calories above your normal intake. protein should be an additional 8 grams a day, and fat should be an additional 8 to 14 grams a day. In the third trimester, the last trimester, you need to consume around 450 calories above your normal intake. These calories need to be nutritious and not just empty calories trying to hit that mark. Protein should be an additional 26 grams a day, and fat should be 11 to 18 additional grams a day. So a little bit about teratogons. Teratogons are things that pregnant women can consume or be exposed to that increase the risk of birth defects. These risks can begin in pregnant women up to 10 to 14 days after conception, which is really hard because you probably don't even know you're pregnant that early on. And so it's something to be aware of and watch what you consume if you're trying. These teratogons include specific medicines, alcohol, definitely alcohol. This affects the central nervous system of the baby. Fetal alcohol syndrome, which is what everyone probably knows about by now, happens through the consistent consumption of alcohol throughout your pregnancy, and it impairs a child for life and causes physical deformities. And this picture right here shows a little bit of that. The child has a low nasal bridge, ears stick out a little bit, ear abnormalities, a thin upper lip, a flat mid-face, and a short nose is one of the most noticeable features in my opinion. And then epicantral folds around the eyes. Those are all physical deformities of fetal alcohol syndrome. Some more teratogons are tobacco, not supposed to smoke when you are pregnant, toxic chemicals that you can inhale around your house, and then caffeine. So a woman who normally drinks coffee, like me, I drink like 4 cups a day, needs to definitely minimize that. You are supposed to drink under 200 milligrams a day, or it can affect the baby's heart rate, which could be very bad. Sorry, I clicked on my pictures hyperlink. There we go. So now we want to think about this locally. After learning about the importance of nutrition during pregnancy for both the baby and the mother, now we want to think about this on a local level, right in our college town. As we hear about all this information about proper nutrition, we wonder how these recommendations and necessities are accessible to all women, especially with high-risk populations. It is very easy to think about factors like teen mothers, homeless mothers, pregnant mothers in school who can't necessarily afford or have the time to get the proper nutritional intake for themselves, and mothers without access to this information, which is why the spread of information is extremely important. So Boone does have many helpful ways to reach out to these pregnant women educationally and nutritionally, and I honestly had no idea that any of these programs existed except one of them. So that was really informative to me, but I mean, I'm not pregnant, so that is probably a reason why I didn't know about it. But so things such as the hospitality house are ways to reach out to these pregnant women educationally and nutritionally. People can volunteer to cook and serve food to those who are in need. Hospitality house says that their food is normally extremely nutritious and not like empty calories like we were talking about earlier. We also have the Hope Foundation in Boone. This has access to things like food stamps, educational information about nutrition, doctors, pregnancy counseling, and many other viable resources. And then one thing that stood out to me was even our app campus with Apple Health and Apple Care. We have our WIC program that helps women have access to nutritious food choices while they're expecting, and even postpartum mothers have access to these food choices and for their babies. So even locally, we can see the spread of information regarding healthy eating for expecting mothers. And overall, I thought this topic was really, really interesting and really important. I had no idea that what you eat affects your baby that much, especially like with the article talking about BMI growth trajectories. I had no idea that what you eat could affect your baby's weight once it is born and once it has started growing. So that was really interesting to me. And these are my sources, and all my images are hyperlinked.